Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
I'm a writer. I write books. I coach people on their writing. I write articles. I do all kinds of things, and I'm writing all the time. But I had to make a decision a long time ago about something that I wasn't going to let distract me when it comes to my writing. I'm Julie Lyles-Carr. This is God on the Go, where we help you make the minutes matter, part of the Purposely Podcast Network. And as a writer, there's something that I had to make a decision on. Now, I love to write. I really love it. I think it's something that God has led me to do. It's been part of my life for a long time. But there's something in writing that comes along quite often, and that is criticism. Now, criticism is when someone is judging you for your work or for how you live your life. And I want to be very clear. Criticism is different than somebody saying to you, hey, you're making a dangerous choice or you're running towards sin. That's not criticism. That's someone loving you well. Criticism is an opinion. It's what somebody thinks about what you're doing, and it's not that it's right or wrong. It's just their opinion. Sometimes criticism can be really harsh, and sometimes criticism can hurt. We've been talking about the things that get us distracted, and I have to say, I think criticism can be a really big distraction because we want people to like us and we want people to like what we do. And when someone comes along with an opinion and they don't like something about us, we can get really distracted away from who God has made us to be and the things that God has for us to do. Now, there is, I think, a really important muscle when it comes to knowing how to deal with criticism. A bunch of my kids have all danced, and they did something called competition dance, where you would learn this piece and you would go in front of these judges, and the judges would then give you critiques, which is part of the word for criticism, right? But my kids had a decision to make every time they would receive one of these critiques. And I think it was really powerful that they learned at a young age to know how to manage and not get distracted by critiques, to maybe pull the good out of it or what was true out of it and forget the rest, not get distracted by it. My kids would get a critique from a judge, and then they would have a decision to make. Am I going to apply what that judge said? Do I agree with what that judge said? Or do I feel good about what I'm doing and I'm not going to get necessarily distracted by some of these things? There are places that I can be more excellent. There are things I can learn, but there are also things that I feel really good about and I'm going to do it this way and I can feel confident in that. You know, it's dangerous when we aren't thoughtful about who we listen to. Now, as a writer, I listen to my editors, and I really care about what my readers think about what I write. But I can't let everyone's opinion get me distracted because then I'd probably never write anything. It makes me think about Daniel in the Bible. He had decided that he was going to pray every morning. He had made that decision, and he knew it was right for him, and it was right before God. And he got criticized for it, criticized to the point that the people around him said, if you keep doing this, we're putting into law that you aren't to pray like this anymore, and you're going to be punished for it. And Daniel was not distracted from doing the thing that he knew he wanted to do before God, which was to pray. Now, you've probably heard the rest of the story, which is Daniel gets thrown in the lion's den because he stays and he prays. And God rescues him in that situation in a miraculous way. It's an incredible story. And I can't help but think about how much strength, how much focus it had to take for Daniel to not get distracted by all of the people who were critical of him. I love this verse from Ephesians 4:29 that says, "Say only what helps, each word a gift." You know, I can get distracted by little things that are bugging me and start to speak criticism over someone else on things that don't even matter. I want to make sure that the words I'm speaking to someone are a gift and not just me being critical. I thought this was really interesting. Do you know how many positive things you should say for every one thing you need to critique someone on? I thought this was so cool. You should say at least 6 positive things for every 1 correction that you need to make. Why? Because God wired us to thrive when we're encouraged. He helps us be able to receive the things that we need to hear about, some corrections that we need to make, when we also know that someone loves us and wants the best for us. It's good for me to remember because, boy, I don't like getting criticism, but I sure don't want to be someone who's known as being critical and criticizing others. I want to stay focused on what God has me to do. I want to check in with God first. I want to learn and grow from the feedback that I get from the people who love me. And I want to make sure that when I need to tell someone about a concern or to make a correction, I only say what helps. That each of my words is a gift and I don't distract anyone else from what God has for them. Hey, text the word GO, that's G-O, to the number 89419, and each week we'll send you a memory verse, a discussion question, a fun fact. It's just a great way to keep the conversation going. A big thanks to our sponsor, George Fox University. At George Fox University, each student will be known personally, academically, and spiritually. I'll see you next week.